Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Arabic Quran YouTube channel. This is Abu Rashid with you, and it's nice to be with you, and thank you for joining me here in the first of these types of episodes where on this channel we try to diversify a lot of content. And one of the types of episodes that I would like to get into here, and this is the first of them, is to contextually learn vocabulary from the Quran, the verses, and the tafsir. And that's what I'm attempting to do in these episodes. So I'll bring verses from the Quran along with the tafsir with them so I can translate them for you in context. And I'm not going to get into grammar or grammatical analysis in depth regarding a verse. For example, the Arab. I'll do that in other episodes, but not in this type of episode. This is purely for comprehension. I will mention some linguistic points or in concepts related to what is on the screen if it enhances your understanding of the tafsir or, for example, the verse, okay? But other than that, I'm not going to get into deep morphological and grammatical points, okay? All right. So having said that, before we start, let me just mention one other housekeeping item, and that is the color coding scheme that you see here. So, for example, you see here that the blue text here, that is to indicate verbs. So all the verbs I've put in blue. The black are nouns, except for if the noun is part of an idafa construct. If it is, then I make the mudaf green and I make the mudaf ilayh purple. For those of you who studied Arabic, you know what I'm talking about. And if there's a second mudaf ilayh, because you can have a chain of nouns in an idafa construct, then the second mudaf ilayh will be pink, okay? And then finally, the particles I have in red. So prepositions like ala and fi there that you will see in red, okay? That reflects the parts of speech in Arabic. You have three, as you probably know: ismun, fi'lun, harfun, the noun, the verb, and the particle. All right, let's get started. Let's first of all get started with, what are we talking about here? Surah Al-Ahqaaf. I'm talking about the first three verses of Surah Al-Ahqaaf, and I will break it up into two episodes just so it doesn't become too long. In this episode, I'll talk about the first two verses, and in the second episode, I will talk about the third verse, okay? Now, Surah Al-Ahqaaf, what is Surah Al-Ahqaaf about here? So the title, let's just start with the title, Surah Al-Ahqaaf. Al-Ahqaaf is the plural of hiqf. Hiqf is a sandy dune or a winding tract or like a sandy wind-curved hill, okay? And hiqf is the singular. Ahqaf is the plural. Now, Al-Ahqaf specifically is a region in southern Arabia which was inhabited by the Ad people, the people of Ad. What were the people of Ad known for? They were prominently known for being architectural masters. They would erect buildings and structures, and they were masters at it. They were definitely proficient in what they did. The problem with the people of Ad was their belief system. So while they excelled in the material world, their belief system was all screwed up, and they associated partners with God. They engaged in polytheism, as we say in English. They were polytheists, and the Prophet Hud alayhi salam was sent to them by God to completely upend their belief system and revamp it and build it from the ground up so that it would be anchored in pure monotheism, to worship God alone without any partners. And in their obstinacy and in their rebellion, they just did not heed the Prophet Hud's call. Okay, so that's all about Al-Ahqaaf. Let's get into the first two verses here, and specifically, let's start off with this first verse, which only consists of two letters, and only Allah knows the meaning. Ultimately knows the meaning of these surahs that begin with these what we call the disjointed letters, right? Al-Huruf al-Muqatta'a. So ha and mim. We have ha and we have mim. Now ha is the sixth letter of the Arabic language, and mim is the 24th letter of the Arabic language. And I put 6 over 28 and 24 over 28 simply because the Arabic language has 28 letters. It consists of 28 letters. And ha happens to be the 6th one, and mim happens to be the 24th. And one other point I wanted to mention here is this, see this little wavy sign above the mim that's kind of hovering above the mim there? That is to indicate elongation when you're actually reciting Al-Quran Al-Kareem in front of your tajweed teacher. And I just wanted to point out my episodes have, are not about tajweed and tafseer. That's beyond my expertise. But I will point out this tajweed note about elongation, or what we call in Arabic mad. Mim here is a mamdud letter, okay, when you're reciting, but ha is not. And what confers the mamdud status on a letter, or does not confer the mamdud status on a letter? How do you decide? And the basis is the spelling of the letter itself, what we call in Arabic tahjiyatul huruf or hija'ul huruf, the spelling of the letter. The ha consists of 2 letters, ha and alif, ha, right? Mim, it actually consists of 3 letters, mim, the long vowel letter ya, and mim. So if the spelling is of 2 letters, it does not lead to the mad or to the elongation. But when you have mim, where you have 3 letters, it does lead to the elongation, okay? So just wanted to point that out. Now let's get to the quick explanation here of what the Mufassir wrote. He said, سبق الكلام على الحروف المقطعة في أول سورة البقرة. What does that mean? سبق, the verb, سبق يسبق, it means to proceed. So what preceded? Al-kalam, which is the doer here, the fa'il. سبق الكلام. The speech or the explanation has already preceded us. It's preceded this, meaning it's already been spoken about. What explanation, what kalam are we talking about? على الحروف المقطعة, about the disjointed letters. Al-huruf is the plural of harf, and here it means letters, not particles. Al-muqatta'a, disjointed. Al-muqatta'a means disjointed. So basically what he's saying is that the explanation regarding these disjointed letters has already been done. Where? في أول سورة البقرة. In the first part, في أول, in the first part of Surah, chapter Al-Baqarah. في سورة البقرة. في أول سورة البقرة. And that's it on the first verse. Let's go to the second verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the second verse, تنزيل الكتاب من الله العزيز الحكيم. Tanzil is the masdar, or what we call in English the gerund or the verbal noun of the verb nazzala yunazzilu, which is verb form 2, what we call al-mazidu fi, right? The verb forms that have extra letters besides the root letters. So, and in this particular case, nazzala, the second root is doubled up, right? The zay. Okay, so tanzil is the verbal noun of that. What does that mean? Tanzil means the sending down, because nazzala means he or it sent it down. Tanzil is the sending down or the revelation of what? Al-Kitab. Al-Kitab here is Al-Quran Al-Kareem. Min Allah, from God, from Allah. And then it comes 2 attributes of Allah, Al-Aziz and Al-Hakim. Al-Aziz means the mighty. Al-Hakim means the wise. In what respect? He'll just quickly touch on that in the explanation there. First of all, he says, هذا القرآن. This Quran, تنزيل من الله, is a revelation from Allah, from God. Al-Aziz, the mighty. Mighty in what sense? الذي لا يغالب, who cannot be overcome. Now let me mention a couple of things real quickly here. I'll just circle that fatha. The verb that we're talking about is غالب يغالب. And if you know your sarf, you know your morphology, this comes from verb form 3, which is الفعل المزيد فيه, which means that an extra letter, basically, it's a fancy way of saying an extra letter has been added. And in Arabic verbs, when you add an extra letter, or 2, or 3, the meaning actually becomes more nuanced and sophisticated. The original verb of غالب يغالب is غلب يغلب, which is verb form 1, which is al-fi'l, which what we call in Arabic morphology al-fi'l al-thulathi al-mujarrad, which means that that's a fancy way of saying that it's bereft or does not have any extra letters on it. It is al-mujarrad, it has been stripped of any extra letters. And when it has no extra letters, usually the meaning is more basic. It's very simple, it's direct, there's no implication of anything else. And in this case, for example, the verb ghalaba means simply to overcome. So I could say, for example, غلب الجيش العدو في المعركة. The army overcame the enemy في المعركة, in the battle. Or I could say غلب النعاس الرجل, that sleep overcame the man. I mean, these are basic meanings, and it befits verb form 1 because it doesn't convey a very sophisticated meaning, and there's no sense that the enemy offered any resistance. There's no meaning in the second sentence that says that the man offered any resistance. It's simply the army overcame the enemy and sleep overcame the man. Very basic meanings. But when we get to غالب يغالب, and you say, for example, غالب البطل منافسه حتى النهاية, that the hero or the champion overcame his competitor finally at the end, there is a back and forth or interactive element there, or an implication that there was a struggle, right? That it's just not that the hero or the champion overcame the competitor, right? Munafisahu, but the al-munafis also offered resistance. And so it's more nuanced and sophisticated. There's a back and forth tussle there, eventually leading to the overcoming by the champion or the hero over his competitor. And then I could also say, for example, غالب الرجل دموعه. The man fought back his tears, because ghalaba also has the idea of resisting and fighting off. Okay, so it's more nuanced, and in this a sentence here, it's the man fighting back his tears, right? Eventually he will overcome, but he's resisting, right? And fighting back his tears. So more nuanced. I just wanted to mention that. And that's one aspect. The other aspect I wanted to mention here is that it says here yughalab, but the original verb is yughalib with a kasra under the lam. When ghalaba yughalibu, specifically let me touch on yughalibu, that is the active form. Yughalibu means to fight back, resist, overcome, etc. But yughalab, when I move the kasra and make it a fatha, replace the kasra and make it a fatha above the lam, then it is to be overcome, to be resisted, for example. And so it is the passive form. So here he's saying la yughalab. If he said la yughalib, that would give the wrong meaning, because then you say Allah does not overcome, which does not make any sense, right? Especially from the Islamic belief point of view. It says here al-aziz alladhi la yughalab. He is the mighty, because he is not to be overcome. He is not overcome. There's nothing that overcomes God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right? Then he says al-hakim, the wise, fi tadbirihi wa sun'ih, in his planning and his craftsmanship. Tadbir means from the verb dabbara yudabbiru, and sun'a means from sana'a, it's to manufacture, to craft, right? So he is wise in his planning and his craftsmanship. These are the first two verses from Surah Al-Ahqaaf. I hope you benefited, inshallah. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And please forward the content to those whom you think may benefit from your friends, family, and community members throughout the world. This is Abu Rashid signing off. We'll be back in part 2 with ayah number 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.